Welcome to the Bioptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. And now here's your host, Wade T. Lightheart.
What is Awesome Health? It's actually an acronym that stands for air, water, exercise, sunshine, optimizers, mental beliefs and attitudes, and education. These are the pillars of peak health, and my team and I have created a free 12-week course that you can use to transform. Each day, you'll get a written and video lesson delivered to your inbox. Everything is covered from the foundations of digestion to advanced alternative therapies few people know about. And again, it's 100% free. Just go to bioptimizers.com. That's bioptimizers.com. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. I'm Wade T. Lightheart from the Awesome Health Podcast for Bioptimizers, and I am super pumped, super excited, and absolutely delighted that I've got my friend Ian Clark on the call today. Now, for those who don't know Ian, I'm going to get into the history of it, but Ian and I go way back. We found each other way back in the day around a whole bunch of the companies that you know today emerged out of kind of the raw food movement, and then Ian and I have crossed paths literally hundreds of times over the last decades. But what I'm most excited about talking about today, he's got a passion for health. He's got a passion for excellence, just like we do at Bioptimizers. But he has developed what I think is an absolute breakthrough in creating these very specialized oils. I've been using his oils, activation oils. They're absolutely amazing. And they've got some unique properties that you have not been able to extract from any other oil, from any other product. And these have specific benefits for the body. And we normally just don't talk about, say, other companies or other procedures, but this is such a breakthrough and something that I think could be of so much value to people, is I want everybody in my sphere of influence to get access to these because I think they're life-changing. And that's what we're all about. We're all about making a difference in the world. We're all about helping everybody in the world. And Ian, it's great to have you on here to share about this breakthrough product you made.
Hi, Wade. Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing me on your podcast here and spending some time with you and your audience and sharing some very important information with people today about the oils particularly.
Well, before we get into the oils, you want to share a little bit about your background and maybe your kind of origin story of how you got involved and merged to this place where you got to a position where you could actually make this incredible product?
Well, today I'm fortunately exceptionally high levels of health, but that was not the way it was 14 years ago. Around 14 years ago, I had around 1,000 days left to live based upon the medical diagnosis that I was looking at. And that the reason I was like that is simply because of the wrong thinking, the wrong actions, and the wrong attitude perspective. So what happened is I realized that I had given my responsibility for my health to everyone except for myself. The medical establishments, I like to blame everybody for everything, because that's what happens when you don't take responsibility. You're trying to find a reason to blame others for what they've done. And it was all me. At the end of the day, Wade, I learned that it was everything that I was doing. It was everything I was thinking, saying, doing, acting, reacting, what I was eating, how I was sleeping, how I was not managing stress, I wasn't hydrating, I wasn't detoxing. Just all of those things accumulated up to me hitting the wall full tilt. I even had a diagnosis of liver cancer, which was not correct. I did not have liver cancer. I had mold, like fungus, right? Heavy metals, a lot of chemical imbalances, a lot of fat, couldn't process properly. My liver was exceptionally bad news, and it almost did take me out. Massive infection in my digestive tract with a fistula cyst that turned into a big, huge tumor that grew a third testicle and some other things you don't want to know about. And then heart disease. And these were all just things that were congestion-based. They call it disease, but it was really just congestion.
Wow.
Sedentary lifestyle, right? No detox. It's all those things that you and I now know that are commonplace in our life today. But there I didn't even know anything about it. So all of those things were taking me out. So it's an interesting numbers game. 1,000 days left at 46. That's a very short time. If you live to 80 years old, it's like 28,000 or 30,000. I didn't get the exact. 28 to 30,000 days. Wow, that's not very long, right?
Certainly isn't.
So, and when you're looking at 1,000 days left, it's like, but I'm only 46. So this is not cool. taking full responsibility, being willing to do whatever it takes, because, there's some rules in life. Number one rule is so,
yeah.
right. And there was a talk that Mike Peters did. I don't know if you know Mike, but Mike's an amazing guy. He's been through the depths and come back, and runs an amazing company called Umali and a bunch of other companies. But, his 3 rules, and we can resonate perfectly with it. He said, number one rule is, if you don't believe that, it's going to really happen. And he said, the number 2 rule is you do whatever it takes to deal with that happened.
Right.
Right. And you make sure, it's above board, of course, but you do whatever it takes to really get that thing sorted out. And when you have that attitude in life, then you leverage that into the future, because you can use that with everything. Just be willing, it's whatever it costs, however much you have to suffer, however much fun you have to have, however many people you need to connect with. So just really learning how the human operating system works, what the body really resonates with, how to become the best version of yourself, how do you get all the garbage out of the way that's plugging you up and preventing that from happening, and then how do you get the right nutrients to the right areas of the body to nourish and cleanse simultaneously, so the body can flow and just become a kind and generous and thoughtful and respectful person on the earth to not only yourself, but to everyone else around you. So that's the real holistic health thing. And that, thankfully, I went through the deepest, hottest fires, but they were great. And when you come out the other side, then all that stuff is behind you, and it's gone. So I can't even remember most of it now. But I'm just thankful, Wade, that we can be here today, and I get to speak with you about these things.
That's great. Every time that we meet up, there's always some tidbit or some discovery or some interesting component of holistic health that you've discovered. And what's one of the beautiful things about you, Ian, is that you're always out there spreading the information to people who are willing to listen and people who are willing to take responsibility. You said something really powerful there, is that you moved from a kind of a blame mentality to take full responsibility. And that's when you become empowered to go forward to your health. And I really respect that about you. So let's get into how did this, how did you get to the point where you started looking for what I would say is a world-class oil, and what was the journeys of that discovery? Maybe you can unpack of what were the things that you discovered about the oil industry, and then what makes this breakthrough so incredible.
Right. Well, if you go back 12 years ago, when I first started the journey, I knew that on the earth there are people and technologies or knowledge and wisdom that are at the top level of each category. And there's a lot of good stuff out there as well. So you get good, great, greater, and greatest. And we know that if we could always achieve in each category to the greatest levels, not so that we're the greatest, but that we are tapping into the greatest, mm-hmm. You'll spend the least amount of time, energy, and money doing whatever that thing is, because you have the biggest return on investment. So in the nutritional world, I saw all these different products, hundreds of thousands of SKUs in health food stores and online and all these different things. And I didn't know anything about oils, but I ran into this guy out in Venice, California, who was pressing oils at this little raw food market. And he was so excited about the oils. He was talking to everybody about the oils, and the oils were everything. All you need is oils, just oils. Well, that people get pretty excited about their own stuff, and they think that's all that you need. And that's okay. It's enthusiasm, overexcitement maybe. But It caught my attention and made me think, hey, what's going on with these oils? Because I didn't take any oils other than, the oils you take in a salad dressing, right? So as far as therapeutically consuming oils, I knew a little bit about essential oils, which go into the brain for aromatherapy, but that wasn't them. This was something that these people were consuming, and they were very, very important. Well, then I started looking into the oil world and learned that a lot of oils are processed in different ways. Like you can take a look at canola oil, go on YouTube and how it's made canola oil. You'll never eat canola oil again, and you'll make sure that you read packages and make sure no canola oil is in what you're eating. And
which used to be called rapeseed oil, right?
Yeah, well, rapeseed was the original, right? That was the original. You know what that was like, and we know because we're Canadians and we saw, millions of acres of that stuff. And then they had to hybridize that because it was so toxic you couldn't consume rapeseed oil. It was more of an industrial use, and they hybridized it until it had the least amount of those toxins in it. But toxins, for what purpose did they do that? So they could call it canola and make cooking oil. but there's always those toxic elements in there. But it's just how it's made is the problem. The super processing, the damage, the solvents, the stuff they do, you wouldn't want to ever have that in your body. Well, that's the epitomization of the worst. And so then when you go into therapeutic oils like black cumin seed oil and black seed oil and all these different types of oils that people consume on large quantity, what's with that? So then you go into cold expeller pressed oils and all these different extraction methods. And I started learning about that there is different equipment that does different things in different heat and different grinding things. So the oil, which everyone should know, is very sensitive, a delicate liquid. Oils are very delicate and they are very high end if they're kept in a proper way. And I started seeing these oils that were processed without damage. And this one gentleman.
So before you get into that, I just want to interrupt for a second, because what are the traditional ways that maybe oil's made, and if you can break that down for people, because I think that's a point of interest. Like, I know originally people would kind of grind oils and cement grinder, like stone grinders, if you're going back to the Greeks, and olive oil, right. and then maybe some of the processes that are currently in vogue today, and if you can outline just a couple of them or common ones, and maybe right. We'll understand where the problem is and what is a superior method.
Right. So the broad stroke, like you say, going from the primitive to the more recent. In the 1920s, they discovered and they invented these called a cold expeller press. So it's a screw press, and they're pretty good. They move the seeds through and they do it without too much heat, but there's a lot of grinding and shearing damage to the molecular structure of the oil with them. So fast forward to today, there are advances in that particular thing, because that's really the only place you want to look at. Is what are the refinements there? How many upgrades have there been that took place that allow oil to come out very raw and very original? Because all you really want is the oil the way it is inside the seed or the spice, whatever it is you're pressing. You want it to be just like it was in there raw.
And heat, if I understand, for many of these processes, damages, for our listeners, they damage the molecular structure of the oil to partially or fully or at some degree variance on how high the heat. Do you know what temperatures that damage starts to happen at?
Well, the damage starts to happen in various levels for different oils. They're all over the map. The more sensitive ones would be like you want to be under 100 degrees Fahrenheit with oils like high omega-3s, chia, right. Flax, hemp, those types. But they're all very sensitive. It's not even the heat so much, and the heat is definitely an issue. It's more the shearing and the grinding. So in the traditional cold expeller press, about 10 seconds of shearing, grinding of the process of that seed through the press, and then get your oil finally comes out, and then the cake goes out. There's a technology out of Germany that we ran into and started to do deep dives into, which was completely different, and we knew we could immediately see the difference. It wasn't because I'm some analytical mind. Anyone can become a connoisseur of these oils because the taste, texture, smell, everything about that, the shelf stability, the acid numbers, the lipid peroxide numbers, and the lab reports, all significantly different. And so you have to ask the question, well, why is that? Why is this oil coming out looking super raw, tasting very amazing, and having all the stability factors? And so it all depends on how that oil the speed is taken out of the seed, and the forces that are involved in that moment. So, some are around 10 seconds of grinding shearing, and other presses are 0.1 of a second, a tenth of a second. And so
that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's right. It's 100 times more efficient. So this technology that we ended up investing in, we learned about, and it all comes out of Germany. It was a very exclusive place where a gentleman had spent 30 years developing this technology and doing hundreds of iterations. One of these very diligent German people who is never good enough,
Right. Always looking for improvement.
And they just evidenced in the German cars, always improvements. Like, talk about world leaders. Well, it's a very similar thing like this, but just because it's German doesn't mean it's excellent. But when you look into the depth of it, Germany has the most excellent things in certain categories. And when it comes to these mechanical things, that is the case. So I was given access to this technology at a deeper level, and we started investing in it and started buying into that press technology, and ended up being a business partner with the inventor himself out of Germany. That took a few years to get to that place, to really understand who's who, because everybody spoke German and not English. And so we had this access to the technology. At that point, then I realized that it was super important that we were to take action and ramp up the volume production of this because we had something ultra unique. And our presses use 15 times less power than a traditional press. Well,
Wow.
Why is that? Efficiency. And the oil's so incredible, as you know, Wade, and everybody can tell right away. They become a connoisseur. If you have access to the best wine in the world, you're now a wine connoisseur because you can tell that's the measuring stick. That's the absolute. That's what you're measuring everything off of. So this was a really simple thing for us to see and identify and then participate in. And I think all of us have destinies. All of us have callings, things that we're supposed to do. And we better do them when we're shown. Otherwise, somebody else can be given that job to do. And we want to help. We're here to really serve people with the top level stuff. That's the ultimate goal. And do it as efficiently as possible so that we can have efficiency with time, energy, and money being invested by an end user on a product, whatever that product is. So that's what these oils are all about. And it gets really exciting with oils because each oil has a different function, a different purpose in the human body, whether it's joints or connective tissue or brain function or heart, lungs. There's all these different things. And so each oil has a nutritional profile. It's not just oil. People think omega-3, 6, 9, and that's just marketing hype. It's not relevant. What's relevant is what are the nutritional profiles of each oil? What's the purpose of each oil? And is that damaged? You damage the oil, you damage the carrier, you damage the nutritional nutrients that are inside there. So that's a kind of a long way around to say perfect oil. We have what is called perfect press. Perfect oil coming out of perfect press is exactly the right heat. It's exactly the right length. There is no grinding and shearing, right? We have it dialed in. Every seed requires a different setting that we had to know. It took a long time to establish. And once you have your SOPs, right? Your standard operating procedures in place, and we're GMP now. So all those certifications have to be in there. We're in Canada, which is the most strict country in the world. Maybe some places in Europe are more strict, but
yeah, Canada's pretty tough for sure. I'm a Canadian myself, so I can attest to that with all the regulatory bodies that have been in place by the Canadian government in regards to the natural health foods and natural health products.
Right. Yeah. So we just went through those iterations, and it's been 12 years of getting to the point. Particularly that we started our company 5 years ago. This particular structure, the way it is now, to take it very seriously, to be able to scale and help people. Because really, that's why we're here. Everybody can make enough money to live, but when you're given something that is really important, you just want to get that value to people and really be there for them and just replicate and flow that through. So, and the other thing that people really need to think about when they're consuming seed oil is every step from soil to seal. So you think about the soil, right? The farmer is growing in mineralized soil. So they got the right microbials in the soil. They're in the right environment, the right location geographically for that particular seed. Like we buy seeds that will only come from India because it's so pristine, so deep level nutrients in the soil for that seed. So then the farmer has to not only nurture the crop and make sure it's grown properly, but they also have to harvest at the right time. You could take a whole seed crop, harvest it early because they're in a rush and they got a huge amount to harvest and they only get a certain amount of time. And then they can store it green, and then they can dry it using heat. Well, then that damages the oil. So you have to know, is that farmer harvesting at the right time? What kind of process they're using to air dry? And then packaging. How do those seeds have to go into a proper package? Because they're going to be shipped around the world, and they need to go into proper bags and containers and have the right moisture content. And then they arrive here, and we've got to climate control, and we've got to make sure that they check out. We got to take that batch and press a batch and check it and then go, oh, that's good. Let's press that whole thing, or send the whole thing back because they didn't do it right, or they promised they have a certificate, but it didn't match. So there's all these things. And then for us, once we receive the seeds and we press them, how do we handle them, right? What happens after it comes out of our press? Where does it go within the facility? What kind of bottles are we using? So there's all of these things. And then at the end of the day, the person just gets this beautiful bottle, nice lid on it. They open up and they don't realize there's like 15 very critical steps that had to be made to exactly right. Otherwise, we'd be messing up the whole process on ourselves. And then the end user would not have the value. So that's where we're at. And that's why the Perfect Press name is something we have to live up to. And it goes deep.
I would say it's not just the perfect press. That's the beginning of a perfect process. And that's what I think makes this so incredible. And I've been in the health industry for literally 25 plus years. And I've tried lots of different oil blends, essential fatty acid blends, individual blends, seed blends, all kinds of stuff. And when I first tested your product, I just put some on my tongue and I'm like, what is this? This is like, like I literally could feel the difference. And then I started using them on a regular basis and I was going, wow, this is like, people don't really know how good or how healing these oils can actually be. And I know we can't use that term in a legal or, we're not saying we're healing anything, by the way, folks, but the bottom line, it has a healing effect. And when I say a healing effect, there's an instant recognition of my physical body that says, wow, this is good for me. I feel it. I want more of this because it's good for me. It's not more like I want a bag of chips because they're genetically altered and salted and chemicalized and I can't stop myself with a compulsion. It's I want this more because my body says this is so good for me. I just want to keep infusing it because it's setting in motion maybe a series of chemical reactions that the body is naturally capable of doing, but needs these type of materials in order to execute them properly.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. It's just the proper kind of, you have a receptor for it. It's like CBD, right? You got a CBD receptor. Yeah. Well, when you put it in your body, it goes, that's nice. Hadn't had that before, Right. And so it's like that. And the brain really loves anything that's food-based. And you think about seeds in the plant world are the epitomization and the full expression of the entire life of the plant, that whole blueprint. Because a single seed, like you take a chia seed, for example, or a flax seed, that one seed could produce millions or billions or trillions of seeds in the future given time.
The potential for the entire species is right within that one seed.
Right.
Which is pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, it's lovely. And then your whole body is, they say it's got 100 trillion cells. I don't know, a lot of cells. But each one of those cells has a lipid membrane. And that lipid membrane is going to have oils and nutrients from those oils within that membrane. I think it's the brain of the cell, right? The memory, the membrane is something very unique about the intelligence. So we now know that oils tie into electrical energy and biophoton energy within your system because they allow that cell to function well, to receive and to detox properly. So your body doesn't all change. You put good oil in it, your brain instantly knows, I know, okay, that's cool. I'm going to start changing things out because I've been putting up with canola oil from Whole Foods in my potato chips or whatever.
Right.
And you want to have just that real high end, that highest luxury oil going into your system to be in a luxury body. A luxurious body just feels good, smooth, and it flows and it doesn't have pain. It's able to sustain a lot of stuff and have a lot of energy. So there's a major energy component, like you talked about, in the oil, and then the food part that comes in, like that nutritional profile, undamaged, fuel.
So let's get into specifics because I first off, I can get into all the process of it. It's really cool and everything. But a lot of people I think are looking at is what type of oils that you make. I've got a number of your products right here in front of here. And then maybe we can talk about these individual ones and maybe some of the benefits of each one of these. I'm going to save my favorite one for last. And that's just a personal preference. I don't know if that's the thing, but we'll start with, let's take a look at your 5 seed blend. This bottle, as you can see, it's a very beautiful bottle, by the way. And talk about the bottle first off. I know this is a special bottle to maintain the integrity of the product. You want to talk about that for a second, and then we'll get into the 5 seed blend.
Yeah, so the packaging is Miron glass, and anyone can look it up. There's only one company in the world who produces it. It's a very special pigment. They put different pigments and minerals within the glass to allow the beneficial UV light to come in, which energizes any product you put in there, and also to block the harmful light simultaneously. So there is a very specific spectrum of UVA, UVB, UVC lighting, and they just dialed that in a long time ago. And so that packaging allows you to have oil outside of a refrigerator, which would sometimes be better in a refrigerator, but doesn't need to be. and also it blocks the light. But there's also another unknown energy component about it that keeps a tomato fresh for 18 months when you put it in there in an apothecary jar versus another one that will blow apart. So yeah, Miron glass is super cool. The only issue that we have with it is that it's expensive and we have to jump through more hoops to get those bottles than anything else. And it's so that's a challenge, but we love that challenge because we believe it's well worth our investment in that for our end users to buy that better package. It makes quite a difference. It gives it better energy. That's the Miron.
Absolutely. And I'm a big fan of Miron glass. I use it for drinking bottles and things like that. So I think that's fabulous. And I wanted to bring that up for that reason, that the storage container is, I mean, when you talk about the perfect process, basically no stone has been left unturned. It's one of the reasons I love hearing about everything that you bring to the world, because I know how detailed you get into the process. So let's talk about the 5-seed oil. What seeds are in it, and what's the benefits of those?
Well, the cool thing about it is that it involves 5 different seeds. And the reason that was done is because before that, there were 5 individual seeds being pressed. So you'd have to buy literally 5 bottles of oil to get the same benefit. And then you're trying to mix and match and do all this stuff. So the press technology we have allows us to combine flax, sunflower, black sesame, coriander, and pumpkin together in an exact ratio, which we blend together so it's all evenly dispersed. And then that goes through the press and literally comes out as one molecule. So a lot of oils will separate. Like, if you try to mix those 5 seeds together, oil differently pressed, they would separate. This does not separate.
Incredible.
So it's a super unique deal. And the reason we chose that is because it covers 15 different major organ functions from all of those oils. And of course, it still has the omega-3, 6, and 9 in there, which everybody wants to have and loves those terminologies. But the most important thing is you're getting that broad spectrum. You don't have to go and buy 5 different things. And that's like a one-stop shop for people to really get going. That one has a fantastic flavor. Goes with anything. Goes with, savory, goes with salads. It doesn't really go with desserts, but, some of our oils do. That particular one is definitely the most popular one. It's the most sold. And it is just a lovely, addition to your protocol, to your nutrient protocol.
Yeah.
And it's got the omega-3s in there, and it's stabilized with coriander as well. Very small amount of coriander.
Yeah, it's a lot of people found that have tried the various oils feel that that's their favorite flavored oil. They like right. That blend, and it's really nice on virtually anything you'd use oil on. Let's talk about this one here, which is, it says Styrian pumpkin oil. So tell us about why you chose Styrian pumpkins, or what's a Styrian pumpkin, all that.
Yeah, so Austria is unique in that it has a type of pumpkin that grows without a shell around the seed, and they're big, black, beautiful seeds, kind of blackish green. And they're known for being extremely good for the health. Now, you talked about healing oils. That's true in that you're giving the body the fuel, the raw material to heal itself or become healthy, because healing just means you're becoming healthy.
Right.
And the Styrian is well known, it's renowned, and it's been pressed for hundreds of years out of Austria. So they just took the AU off and just called it Styrian instead of the Austrian oil. And it's a cool little thing. It sounds interesting. Almost people think, is that from Syria?
Right.
No, Austria.
Yeah.
So yeah, European high-end level, super unique, not easy to get. And even to find the really good quality certified organic, you got to push to get those. So we don't have a huge quantity of that yet. We would love to contract farmers that would do that certified organic on a larger scale. But what the deal with pumpkin seed, and this applies to all pumpkin seeds, but specifically this one, is that it's required for companies who have other press technologies to roast the pumpkin seed. If they don't roast it, and they say lightly roasted, well, how do you lightly roast something? I don't know. And when you roast it, it doesn't completely destroy it, but it does damage. And they have to roast it to make the oil come off the fiber. The fiber is bound very tightly to pumpkin seeds. So we were able to press pumpkin seed oil 100% raw, no roasting ever. And we actually get more oil out of a raw pumpkin seed than they get out of a roasted one.
Wow.
And then you get the deep floral essence. You don't get that roasty, nutty flavor. You get that floral essence that stays with you and doesn't turn to like diesel in the back of your throat after 30 seconds.
The Bioptimizer mission is to help more of the world fix their digestion at a core level. The truth is, your digestion is only as good as your enzyme levels. Imagine trying to build a house with a tree. It's impossible. You need to chop the tree down into small pieces. Similarly, in order for your food to be used by your body, it must be broken down into a bioavailable form. And that's what enzymes do, converting protein into amino acids, fats into specific fatty acids, and carbohydrates into usable energy units. We start out with an abundance of enzymes, and that's why kids can digest just about anything really quickly. The thing is cooking food kills enzymes as they cannot survive at temperatures above 118 degrees. So years of this ends up depleting our bodies and leads to weak digestion. Taking digestive enzymes like masszymes, which has an incredibly high level of protease for digesting protein, as well as other critical enzymes like lipase, amylase, and others is a total game changer. Suddenly you strengthen your digestion, eliminate gas and bloating, boost metabolism, and multiply your energy. Most importantly, you fix your digestion at a core level. To get started with Masszymes and to save 10% on your first order, go to masszymes.com. That's MASSZYMES.com and use the code MASS10, MASS10. That's one of the interesting things that I think is also when you try these oils is that the flavor profile. It's kind of like drinking a really good wine or something. You'll get these you get these effects that aren't initially felt. There's like an initial effect, and then flavors or senses or tastes as the oil goes into the body. And I've noticed that as well. So that's pretty cool that you've done that.
Yeah, flavor wise, that's the very nicest one I like the most. And then of course, this is reproductive organs that benefit tremendously for both male and female from that oil, and it's anti-parasitic. So if people have parasites, they got to tap it cool on it to start with. Maybe take half a teaspoon and see if they get any reaction. If they don't, then they're pretty good. They can plow it. I like to guzzle that stuff, but you don't need to. It's a very high end oil, and of course it has all the other properties that oils have with the lungs and the liver and the brain. And you could look up Styrian. There's a company that's all they do, and they roast it, and it's still really nice and really good. I actually enjoy their oil. But I know that it's got a much less value nutritionally or therapeutically than the raw. But that's just the way that it goes. But still, they're all good. I think it goes good, great, great, or greatest, right?
Now you got another one here. It's in a dropper format. Amaranth oil. Of course, amaranth has got a lot of properties about it. You want to talk about this one in the dropper?
Yeah. So that's our most difficult oil to press by far because it's only got 3% oil and a super small, super hard little seed. And you've seen amaranth, how small it is. Now, you cannot just press any amaranth. That particular amaranth comes out of India. And we've tried amaranth from other parts of the world. We don't get any oil at all, which is an interesting thing. And so what you're looking at with amaranth is squalene. It's an 8% natural squalene in amaranth oil. And it also has many other properties that they call it warrior's blood. There's so many different units of energy that come out. Like it takes 5 pounds of amaranth to make that one bottle.
5 pounds to make this tiny bottle. As you can see, this is like 1 fluid ounce or 30 milliliters. And then how much of this would you take on a daily basis? Like, because obviously you're not dumping this on salads.
Right. Yeah. If you're taking it internally, you do 1 dropper per day for energy. It's a super energy oil, super fuel. Yep. And then on your skin, 2 drops on your hands that are wet, 2 drops will spread over your whole skin, and it gives a very beautiful matte finish. People rave about this one that you put on before you go to bed. You wake up in the morning with a much improved face. So that's an external and an internal oil.
I've been using it actually. What I've been doing is I use it after shaving. I shave and then I put a couple drops and put that right on my face. It's awesome. Yeah. I've tried a lot of different oils, and it works really well. I like that because you got scarring and things like that from the razor scraping, and it feels great and it looks great too. So
yeah, it's a great oil. That's high end.
Now I wanted to bring up this oil here in particular, the black cumin oil, which is coming from black cumin seed. I love this stuff. And what's interesting is some of my friends say, wow, it's very, very strong flavored oil. I really like when I drink it, there's something magic happens in this for me. Tell me about this oil. What makes it unique? What's so special? And what's the benefits of it particularly?
Right. Well, so when we first heard about it, everybody was saying from the Middle East, it cures everything except for death. And like a panacea, a total panacea. Well, really, it doesn't. And what it does do, it gives the body a super broad spectrum of different nutrients and also detox parts and energy parts to go into weight loss. It's anti-parasitic. It is against fungus. It helps fungus come out of the body. And it's one of those seeds that is, like you said, very spicy, and it's antimicrobial. So when you take it, the reason that people, and the reason I didn't like it when I first took it either, I thought, man, that stuff is pretty intense, very medicinal tasting, because it was going after the back of my throat. It was quite annoying. But I've always had throat issues. I had strep throat when I was 1 year old, got rheumatic fever. And so I've always had these throat issues. And it went in and it cleaned it right out. It took 2 weeks. I was told, no, just keep taking it. 2 weeks from now, that won't bother you anymore. And sure enough, it's exactly the way it was. So it's a really cleansing, nourishing oil, but it's fantastic for, metabolic issues. People use it for high energy, for workouts. I like to take it with food. If you have a very powerful digestive system, you can take it straight and it doesn't bother you. But a lot of people take it and they'll kind of get a little bit of a burp afterwards. So
right.
They can add it with Manuka honey if they're into the medicinal honeys. It's a really great adjunct with that. Yep. But that one's a whole body tonic. That thing covers so many bases. You're trying to get somebody to take something. You don't want to tell them too much, but that thing really actually delivers the broadest spectrum.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I put this on my salads every day, and it gives that kind of like, there is a spiciness to it. So it kind of makes it brings out the flavor of the vegetables and the salads that I have, because I have a giant salad every day. And it's been my absolute favorite oil of all time. And that's saying something, because I've tried a lot of oils over the day. All of these products are fantastic. That's my personal favorite. Any other products that you have that I'm not aware of? Because I'm not aware of these four. You got anything on the grill, or you're doing something? Because I have these ones in my house, and if there's more, I'll find out about them and start using them. Because I can't sing the praises enough of what you've done here. And I just think it's so important for our listeners to actually get some of these oils and try them, and to really see what it's like to have a truly high-end, perfectly processed, perfectly pressed, perfectly processed oil, and then what the benefits are of that, because just a lot of people have no idea. And it also, the contrary parts of it, I think there's another benefit to that that's maybe not so obvious. Mm-hmm. And that is, once you've had an oil such as this in your body, you get really clear about the spectrum of other oils, from like descending levels of goodness right into like ascending levels of badness. And, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, they can actually become dangerous. I think most companies today, like the ones that you see out there in the market and health food stores, are pretty good. Mm-hmm. They're not awesome because they don't have that processing ability or the packaging and all that stuff, but they're pretty good. They're not. I don't think they're going to harm you. But I have definitely run into oils where they would absolutely harm you. And people leave oils sitting around for too long. They don't realize the sensitive nature of it. And if they're not packaged right, they can become in that rancid level. Once you get over to a certain number, it's dangerous.
Well, I know. I remember. I'll give a funny story for our listeners before we go on the other oil. But when I was a kid, I grew up in New Brunswick, Canada, and there was a place called Deluxe French Fries that people go to, and they would leave the oil in these fryers for weeks and weeks, and refrying this. And of course, now we know that this is what creates trans fatty acids, which have so much damage to the body. But they would literally bring the fish and chips out to people, and they had to put it under newspapers to soak up this trans fatty acids coming out of the fish and chips.
Awesome.
They're still around. And people go to this place, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, I didn't know when I was a kid And I found out, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe people eat this. And it seems good, it sounds good, but the reality is it's literally death defying. And so having come from so far down the spectrum in my oil journey, I feel really grateful to kind of to get access to a conversation with someone that knows so much about it. And any other products that you want to talk about? Or
Well, there are 2 more oils, and we'll definitely send them out to you. One of them is the pure coriander, which is a super deep, rich flavor and silky oil. The coriander hardly, I think it's got like 1% oil.
Wow.
So we press that flawlessly. But only 1 drip comes out every few seconds. And so it takes a long time to press it. The reason that we do, and it only comes in a 15 ml bottle, because you don't need much of this stuff, is it goes after heavy metals in the brain. It's well known for that.
Wow.
And it's also really good at putting candida at check. So it checks the levels, keeps those yeast or any kind of fungal things in check. And of course, it has many other properties like the oils do. But yeah, just a little bit of that coriander oil every day. And also, people should always take coriander oil with them on a trip, or if they're out and about, because it stops food poisoning in its tracks. If you literally go to a restaurant or anything and you get some food poisoning, you start to get sick, you take half the bottle. It's 1/3 the bottle. 1/3 the bottle. 1 teaspoon of that coriander oil straight will knock it out. I've seen it knock it out in 10 to 15 minutes.
That's awesome.
So it's a good insurance one. And then the other one is milk thistle seed oil. Milk thistle is very well known for its liver protecting and liver rejuvenating properties. So we started pressing that a few years ago, and that has been super popular. So that one, we got a large amount sitting in Canada right now, waiting for Health Canada to release it for export into the United States. We've been selling a lot of that.
Wow.
People love it. Now, some people abuse it. They can, if they like alcohol, they take a large amount of the milk thistle before they go drinking. Doesn't bother the liver because it coats it all. And that's a bit of a hack and a bit of a cheat, because I personally don't drink alcohol. I love the taste of wine. I love wine tasting. I love beer. I love all that stuff. But I just found that to me is a poison to my system, and it just irritates me. And if I drink wine, even just 1 glass of wine, I'll wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning. I think that's because I had originally had a compromised liver at one time.
Right.
But the milk thistle,
body's kind of sending a signal, say, "Hey, buddy, you've been down this road before. Turn the truck around."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I was never a big drinker, but I had liver damage from the oil field, and so all that stuff that got in there, the heavy metals, the lead, whatever, So I'm sensitive that way. But I know the milk thistle is used a lot in that regard. So I used a lot of milk thistle when I did my liver protocols, and really got things restored. So that's a great one. So that's all the oils at this point. We do have other ones coming, and I'm not going to do any teasers on this yet. But
okay, that's no problem. But I think once people check out your company and check out the products and try the products, trying them is believing, in my opinion. And I know I'm delighted just to share this with people, because it's like, man, it's made a big difference in my life. And I don't say that lightly. I get exposed to literally hundreds of products every year. And I'm very selective about what ones I recommend or suggest to people, because, there, like you said, there's a lot of great products, or good products, but I'm at a stage in my health journey or my health career where, excellence is all I'm looking for now. It's not more Me Too's. It's like wows, and this is a wow product. So what we'll do is we'll add the links into the show notes here about where they can get your products at Activation Oils. And how do they reach you, Ian, or your company if they have any questions?
activationproducts.com. And we have a full customer service, and we have a lot of ways you can communicate with us in many different ways. And we're building that out. We have a brand new website going to be launched within about a week and a half. Finally, we've
probably by the time this goes public, we'll have it out. So
cool, that's great.
Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful that you took the time out of your busy day on your travel schedule. You were in LA yesterday, back in Ontario today. You jumped on here in the call. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for making this product, and for sharing this message of health and vitality. And your own story is amazing. I really, really appreciate it, Ian. And I look forward to trying the other new ones that you have. And of course, continuing on with the products I have. I really appreciate what you're doing in your company, and I wish you the best of success in the coming years.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wade. And I appreciate everything you've done and you're doing as a mentor, as a person who's really led the way. The cool thing you said earlier is, when you take these products, they literally educate your body about what it's all about. That's really how you get it, is by taking them. Seeing is believing. Feeling is believing. It's an experience. And we just want to feel better and better and better into the future. And nothing feels as good as feeling good. And I've seen you're one of the leaders in the industry that really walks it and shows it. And its physical presence is there at all times. And there's this endless amount of enthusiasm in what you do, and finding the cool stuff that's out there and developing what you guys have as well, and bringing the top in your category out. So it's been a real joy, and that's the vibe, right? It's a resonance thing. It's a very, very tight top of that little pyramid where people live in this world. And that's where we want to get everybody in there to just experience that extreme benefit of tapping in protocols, nutritional products, and we're here to help them.
Well, Ian, this has been a wealth of knowledge. I've added to my knowledge repertoire. The experience is the next step for everyone else. So click on the links attached to the podcast here. Get some of these oils in your life. They're life transformational. Not only will you know about the kind of therapeutic benefits, but you'll just feel better. And that's the big testament. You can literally feel these inside your body. So go out there, grab some of these. Ian, thanks so much for joining us today. It's another episode of the Awesome Health Podcast with Wade T. Lightheart and Bioptimizers. Make sure you tune in each and every month as we bring the latest and greatest, the best of the business, the best of the field, because your health deserves to be awesome. Thanks so much. And now for a Bioptimizers fixed digestion tip. Turn cultured foods into superfoods. Raw fermented foods like sauerkraut and low sugar live yogurt can be good for you, but rarely have enough of the right probiotic strains for therapeutic benefit. So here's a way that you can turn them into superfoods. What I do is I get some raw sauerkraut or a healthy yogurt. Ideally, it's grass-fed or coconut-based, and you can empty 3 caps of P3OM into a container and mix it up thoroughly. Leave it at room temperature for a couple of hours before putting it back into the fridge. And what's going to happen is these probiotic levels will be multiplied. In fact, it doubles every 20 minutes. And then what you're going to get is you're going to have a food with strong proteolytic activity. To learn more about P3OM and why its patented strains make it the strongest probiotic available, go to www.bioptimizers.com.
Thank you for listening to the Bioptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. You can find more information at bioptimizers.com.